Welcome, everyone. Richard Evans here from AME. Welcome to our 2-second lean tour series. We've been all over the world in 2024, and we're coming to the end of the 2024 series, but we're saving the best for last. So today we are going to visit an incredible leader down in Franklin, Tennessee, and we're going to visit Austin today. And it's an incredible story that Austin's going to share with us. So Paul is here. It's 1 a.m. in the morning for Paul. He's managed to get up and in the middle of the night to be with us today. And Austin, we're going to see how you've transformed your company. Okay,
let's do it, man. I'm ready.
An incredible journey.
Okay. Well, thank you, Paul and Richard. Man, what an honor to get to do this tour today. I'm excited to get to brag on the team a little bit and hopefully bring some value to those watching. Before we get into it, I wanted to thank a few people, some of the guys that have gone before me and done this tour. Adam and his team at Southwest Steel Buildings, Nick and his team at Valley View Industries, and Pablo and his team at Scarpati. Just guys that help give us a roadmap, but guys I just look up to in general, some lean maniacs. So thank you guys for going before me here. And then Paul and your whole team at FastCap and Ryan and the team at Seating Matters and Lead Made Simple. If it wasn't for that content, there's just no way that we could be where we are today at Huskey. So I wanted to make a point and say thank you and welcome to Huskey. So Huskey's been around since 1945, started as a lumber yard supplying framing material to new construction projects in Nashville. And over the decades and years, through a lot of amazing team members, we've grown into manufacturing roof trusses and floor trusses, wall panels, pre-built stairs. In this building, we pre-hang interior and exterior doors, as well as sell windows and interior trim. Excited to tell y'all a little bit about our lean journey today. So our lean journey at Huskey started when I read 2-Second Lean. I believe it was early 2020. I was in an industry roundtable and we had to read it for the next meeting. I never heard of the book. I'd heard of lean manufacturing and lean thinking, knew it was Japanese, and that was about it. But 2-Second Lean was so simple. I call myself a dumb lumber guy. I don't have a college degree. I wasn't a very good student. And Paul made that book so accessible that I immediately latched onto it, as well as the human development piece. So Huskey's vision statement is that we would honor Jesus, love people, and serve our community with everything that we do. And so the idea that lean is less about KPIs and metrics and more about developing people, that lean is a human development system, that just immediately resonated to me. And then the last thing was, I grew up in ops, I grew up in this business, and so the concept that little improvements made consistently over time could create dramatic results, I absolutely latched onto the book. I was excited about it. I bought a bunch of copies. I had some of our managers read it. I gave it to friends of mine, was just super excited, and then completely fell on my face for like 3 years trying to implement the ideas. And so if I could get anything through to the leaders that are watching this right now, if you get nothing else out of this video, consistently apply the principles that you see in 2-Second Lean, in the content coming out of FastCap and Seating Matters and all of the other lean maniacs that have done this tour. If you just consume that content and consistently apply it across your team, you will bear fruit. Keep your hand to the plow, as they say, and it will work. So that's how our lean journey started. This is our millwork facility. This is where we pre-hang interior and exterior doors. We bring in windows and interior trim and then sell those jobs specific to our builders and contractor customers. And I want to talk through two things in this tour specific to this building. One, I want to cover overproduction. Overproduction is a part of this building story. This warehouse is about 110,000 feet. There's a great overproduction story associated with that. And then I want to talk about developing people and some of the tools and ideas that have worked for us in that process. But before we do any of that, let's get into our kata. Let's talk about our routine and what lean looks like every day at Huskey. So we start every day with our morning meeting right here. That starts promptly at 7. We start that with prayer because that's a part of who we are. We want to give our day to the Lord. And then we recognize any new team members, birthdays, that type of thing. We jump into lean learning. So that's going through the 8 forms of waste. We've been going through the pillars of the Toyota production system as a team, just kind of those broad learnings that we want everybody. And that's about 100 people right here in this area that go through that together. We round that out with shout outs, any improvements that people want to brag about, things going on. And then we end that meeting with a chant. Everybody chants together just to signify that we're all one team, all 100 people. And then we break out into smaller breakouts. So we've got about 30 people in the office. They do their own breakout. We've got 13 people in production right now. They do their own breakout. And then warehouse operations and logistics does theirs together as well. That's to cover any team specific things for the day, what's most important that day, defects that happen from the day prior, just build camaraderie within those smaller teams. But in the case of logistics and operations, that's about 40 people deep. So do that meeting for 5 or 10 minutes and then go to our 3S time. So I'm standing here with Nick Shelton. He's the operations manager here at the mill workshop, and we're talking about 3S. So Nick, what does 3S look like at Huskey in the mill workshop?
So for us, 3S represents this board. It's a daily task board. As you can see, we have Monday through Friday. So every single day, we make sure that we check off every single one of these. So Monday, we're going to empty the trash cans. Then we're going to clean bathrooms. And as you can see, we have it color coded so it's easy to actually identify who's doing what days. So blue we actually got this idea from Automated Drive Systems. This is just our rendition of it. Blue represents, hey, we're in progress on this. So as you can see, putting credit pallets away today, we've got Ryan working on that. And then once he finishes that, he will come over here, replace this with a green to let everybody know, hey, I've got that finished. I want to fix that so I don't get that messed up. So this is just something that we do every single day. Right after our morning meetings, we come straight over here, look at this, and divvy it out amongst the entire team to keep it, 1, fair, 2, so nobody gets burnt out on doing the same job repetitively every single day, and then 3, not everybody wants to sweep the entire storeroom or ride the Zamboni. But we make it fair, like I said, and we just cycle through it each time. So that's one thing that 3S means to us.
So I mentioned some of the guys in the lean community. Brendan, thank you and your team for inspiring us here, and it's just made a huge difference for us. So definitely, if you're not connected in the lean community, get connected. Bunch of awesome guys and awesome resources. So one other thing about our kata that I wanted to mention is what we call our gauntlet. So Nick, tell us about the logistics team and what the gauntlet is.
Yeah, so we actually got this idea when we visited Japan. There they actually have the mail trucks that run this gauntlet every single day, and we just took that idea and ran with it. So one thing that we set up is a makeshift garage here sometimes we move it around just to make it more challenging, but we actually have our box trucks every single morning. They will come out here and perform this gauntlet just to make sure the trucks are in good condition to be able to run. The drivers are in good condition to be able to make the deliveries for the day. What they do is they'll pull over here and they back in. We have a driver and a driver helper in every single truck. So the driver helper's job is to get out, make sure that they're backing in properly. They're not going to run into any telephone poles or other trucks or anything on the job site. They'll back them in, go all the way in, and then they pull out. Sometimes we have it set up to where they can pull in like sideways, but we try to make it simple so that we're not spending, an hour out here running a little course in the mornings, but we make it effective enough that we're not going to be running into houses or anything like that. So
the job sites we hit can be tight, they can be complex.
Yes.
Coming at it from different angles. You might be able to back straight up to the garage. You might have to back around a pile of gravel or another car before you get there. And so we use this as a way to just hold the standard of excellence with the logistics team, and it's worked very, very well.
Yes, since we've done this, before we've had incidences where we've backed into like the corner of like steps or something, or we've like hit a sand pile or something like that. Since we have started doing this, our incidences went from like maybe one every like week and a half to once every like 3 to 4 weeks now. So it's helped us tremendously.
Made a big difference. That's awesome. Thank you, Nick. So the other piece of our daily routine that I would say has been revolutionary in our lean journey is the utilization of our signal thread. So one Huskey signal thread, no matter what location you're at, no matter what role you're in, it's one improvement thread that everybody posts daily from their department. What improvement happened that day? We all get to celebrate it. Yoga 10 gets to happen, laterally sharing good ideas, and that has been monumental in our growth. That ability to share good ideas and best practices and see what other departments are doing and let that passion and momentum bleed into the other teams has just been huge. So let's talk overproduction. Part of our Millwork operations story does center around overproduction. We bought this building in 2018, and like I said, it's 110,000 square feet, and I remember walking through this warehouse empty and a bunch of us saying, man, how are we ever gonna fill up this space? We were leaving about 30 to 35,000 feet spread between multiple buildings into one warehouse that was 110. And we thought, goodness, how are we ever gonna grow into this? And then just 3 or so years later, kind of proud of ourselves, just product everywhere and like, well, we said we were never gonna fill it up and it's full of stuff. And well, honestly, kind of proud of it pre our lean journey. And so that just descended into chaos into all kinds of ways, just overproduction like crazy, product sitting for months and months and months, all kinds of dead stock that we were writing off every single year, just chaos, stupidity. But one of the ways was door production. So we're pre-hanging interior and exterior slabs, and we were doing that right here in this space. And it went from the end of this rack all the way down. Jeffrey Shank, our COO, came to me one day and said, hey, I think that we need to move production into this smaller kind of sectioned off corner of this building that you'll see here in a second. And I said, not enough room, not gonna work. And he said, well, let's try it. And those constraints has made us immensely better. I can't wait for you to see it. I'm gonna turn you over to Dean Wright and let him walk you through it. Dean is our production manager. He runs the entire production team, and he's been here pre-Huskey lean journey and been an integral part to the transformation. First, I just wanna thank you for that. Your team is doing an amazing job. We're talking about the way production used to be. Overproduction, the way we were not managing our scheduling. We always felt like we were behind. And so the only thing that mattered was speed and not quality. Talk to me about how that felt.
Oh God. So we started off, when I first took over, we were already 300 interior units behind, and everything was just getting thrown on last minute, no communication. It was a hectic mess. It was a headache all the time. It felt pressure. That's what it felt.
Going through 2-second lean felt like, man, there has to be a better way. We started to address it from the scheduling angle with the scheduling coordinator, but you guys in production were like a microcosm of a lean team making improvements every day. And what did that start with?
It started with the saying, fix what bugs you, is really what pushed us, is because something would happen and we would literally be like, this is annoying. And we'd start going, why is this annoying? Hey, can we do that a little better? Can we fix that? Can we not do it this way? And every time we would fix what bugs us, it would get easier and easier. And then we'd get doors ahead. We started catching up, making momentum. We used to have 24 people and a second shift total. And to do about the same or even more now, we can do that with 13 people in a single shift.
So I want you to show us all of the improvements that, I say all of them, there's too many to show them all. I want you to show us a bunch of the improvements that have made that possible. You guys are gonna love this.
Let's go to the pool hall. So welcome to the pool hall. This side is our interior line. This side is our exterior line. And one of the major benefits that we did using lean is we had a chop saw that was right over here near that wall of photos that we moved 40 feet this direction. And because we did that, we knocked down a minimum of 40 feet this way and 40 feet that way. We now cut our trim. We run it through the trimming machine, which used to be facing this way. So we moved it 90 degrees this way, and then our final station, we also twisted 90 degrees. So now, instead of walking across the warehouse, making a cut, bringing it all over here, making a cut this direction, walking another 30 feet down that way, but past the wall, we now do it in a flowing motion of bring it in the interior line, chop it on the saw, hit it through the trimmer, right into the station for the looper, and once that's done, our trim is complete. Now over here, we're gonna move to interior line, and we're gonna talk about some lean improvements that have really helped us a lot, and I'll just pass it off to Colin.
So one of the first improvements that we made, we have these two magnets that we use for the screw feeder, and we didn't have a good place to put them. We kept getting them lost, we kept having to replace them and whatnot. So we made dedicated locations for them. They got nicknames. It looks like a rock, so we called it the Rock, and we called this the Extendo Magneto for the extender magnet, and now they have a dedicated spot for them. Outside of that, we have designated spots for our tape measures because we'd always be losing those. One of the better ones we've made, 95% of the doors we run are singles, which is why I put the standard on it, but we do run other types of doors, so we made other papers that show any deviation from the standard, and they're highlighted where they change. So when we run a ball catch double, it shows what you need to do on this screen right here to change it to a ball catch double. And if you need to do anything with this other than just the handing that it has, it's also highlighted like on this one right here. We painted the tops of these boxes because everything kind of works inverted here. So everything right-handed, you work to the left. Everything left-handed, you work to the right. So we have a big R with an arrow that says header to remind you that when you do a right-handed door, the header of the door is facing this way, so the top of the jamb goes that way. We've completely revamped. This whole area was a big mess when we came over here. We have designated clipboards that go in the order of which we need them. So, you know, your first order that you're running goes here, second. And we also have HC1. Those are our critical doors, so anytime we get those, when they pop up, we'll put them here as just kind of a way to say, hey, HC1. Typically, it's one little paper, so you have enough room to see that it says HC1. Designated spot for pens and pencils. It seems like such a little one, but the same thing, we always kept getting them lost. We have Kaizen corner for our drills, Kaizen corner for our drill battery, place to put lunch boxes. Everything's labeled and it all matches up. So we have the screw bags up here, the screws and the hinges, and they all go in the same order. ORB, satin nickel black, same here, same there. Everything's labeled, earplugs, whatever miscellaneous stuff you have, it changes week to week. The extra screw bags. A place for the radio with a place for the radio. Anytime we have stamps up here, we used to lose these all the time as well. And yeah, everything's got a dedicated spot if we ever need this guy for anything, and it shows you with an arrow which way it's supposed to go in, so you're not sitting there saying, what the heck, why isn't it going? The arrow for that way, so you know to put it in that way. Sometimes we'll put a hinge on backwards, and thankfully with our hinges, we can just hammer the pin out and flip it that way, so we have dedicated spots for the hammer. And same thing with a little arrow for this little pin, just to put it right in, and you're good to go.
And one of the most important, I think it's one of the most important improvements that we've ever done here, it was kind of the catalyst for finding how to make an improvement, was what I like to call the pencil saga. So when you're making chops at a saw, a lot of times you need to actually mark down what you're writing with. Well, if you don't have a pencil, then you have to walk across the warehouse and find your pencil. So we took a pencil, we drilled a hole, and we marked it pencil. Boom, that's what we did. And then we realized, okay, you forget the pencil's there, it's way out of reach. Let's do something else with it. So we took the pencil, we marked a pencil, and we started sitting it here because that's pretty close to where you need it. We then added a tape measure and something to clean off up here. Then it turns out that once you use a pencil a lot, that happens to your lead. And so now you don't have a pencil that works. You need to go find a place to sharpen your pencil, and the guys were getting annoyed with that. So they started using a pen. I don't like the use of a pen because it's permanent, you can't erase. So I said we need to get that pen away. So we used a mechanical pencil. Mechanical pencils get annoying because when they're thin, the lead breaks easy, so it's hard to make a good line. The last improvement, and most recently, is I got a mechanical pencil with thicker lead that sits now right here at the top. Easy to see, so when you ever need to make a mark, you can grab, mark, tape, boom, put it right back, and you're good. It just shows that small improvements through time, you can just keep improving on something that was thought, hey, I did that right the first time. All right, so over here is what we like to call the pool table. We've made a lot of improvements on the pool table. First things I started doing with the pool table is I marked what our main widths are on here. We use 3 O's and 2 8s, so I marked that on the tape measure. Then we came over here to what we actually operate with. What it used to be is you would have to start by pressing the template guide. You'd press 1, you'd start it over here, and then you'd do the plunge, then you'd stop it, and you'd do this. And when I made this cool little, how do you do it here, somebody walked by, his name's Steve, old Stevie P walked by and looked and went, that makes no sense, why don't you just flip the buttons? It was an aha moment. So we took the buttons, took them on the inside, flipped where they were. So we have this yellow piece is the machine head. It all does all your machine head pieces. This here is where you do your latch and your drill. And all it is start, hit. And it's all in an easy to understand spot now, which from the manufacturer it wasn't, which goes to show when you get a new machine, you think, yeah, I got something great, I got something new. But this is the worst it'll ever be, because you can always improve it and make it simpler. You put the answer where the question is. A great improvement for over here is we put these screens up that show us what our daily task is and the 5-day look ahead. So it's easy to make a game plan and let everybody on the team know exactly what we're doing. And if there's a change, everybody's notified at the same time because it's right there. We know where we are, how far we completed, and communication is key. Over here we've got it's called the E-Series Magnum, and it came to us recently. And I made an improvement here recently where I put up, hey, left hands are over here and right hands are over here to help with making sure we don't have defects. And it's really funny because I made that improvement, and then a few days later, because I didn't put the answer in a great spot, Matt came over and said, hey, I made an improvement to the Magnum. I threw over here, I spray painted over here, right hands are this way, left hands are that way. And so I made an improvement that got expanded upon because the answer wasn't clear enough when I made it. We also marked on all of our bars what our measurements are so everybody knows the standard. We have, as you can see, we got paint pinned over here. This stuff is for 1 3/8 jams. You have to switch it for 1 3/4. We're trying to make sure that we put the answer where the question is. And again, this is a brand new machine that as soon as we got it, we started painting all over it and making messages because we need to make sure it's as easy as possible to use. Right over here, we underlined our standards so that everybody knows, hey, if something's off and we need to fix it, right here, underline equals standard. Boom, standard, 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 standard. Basically, we're just trying to simplify everything. So Colin pointed out again, he was walking by and he goes, man, this has worked out great. I said, what's worked out great? He pointed down and said, marking our carts with what actually goes on it makes it super simple to figure out. So 6/8 tall, 4 and 9 double rev jams. This is our code that we have in our system so that we can easily replenish and find it. And he said, that is a game changer. Simple yet effective.
Hey, this is Matt in production. I'm the millwork production supervisor, and I'm going to show you how we leaned up the printing process. So used to, we'd have to click on an order here, and we would right click. We'd have to go down to work order, print. That's already like 3 steps. Click this down, millwork batch. It's already on the correct printer, and then print, and it'll print over there. But we print a paper and a jam tag, so that's 2 things. So we have to do this whole process again. Work order, print, and then this time go down to work order jam tag, and then print that, and it'll print in the printer. But with our handy Stream Deck, it will actually do all the work for us, so that all I have to do is click on the order I want and push a button, and it'll automatically go into print the paper. And when it's done with that, it'll automatically print the jam tag after a pause. So another thing we have is I do a sideways reports in the afternoon, and I have a sideways button here. So all I have to do is make sure I'm on it, and I push this button, and it'll actually type who I'm sending it to, type the title, and type out everything I need as a template. So all I have to do at this point is type in what I need, and it's good to go. It'll always say the same. Did all that with just one button instead of typing it out, which saves a whole lot of time.
It's amazing what you guys have done in here in a space that I didn't even think the equipment would fit, and what you guys have been able to accomplish is just unbelievable. Something that I wanted to tell everybody that I heard you say early on that I think is really key. We talked about fix what bugs you, but you told me that you actually love when your team does what?
I said I love it when they complain because it gives me something to fix.
I thought it was so amazing and totally meant it. Like, you take those complaints because you couldn't get them to maybe pipe up about an improvement idea, so you just took their complaints and used them as improvements. And that's what turned into everything that everybody saw today. I hope you enjoyed it. This team is just rock stars.
Thank you very much.
So right now we're standing in what's going to be our Ono room. It's kind of going to be our dojo, where we hold a lot of classes and trainings, very specific people development. Like I said, Huskey's vision statement is that we would honor Jesus, love people, and serve our community in everything that we do. And that love people has manifested in a lot of different ways at Huskey over the years. But one of them that has really stuck kind of started with this book. So many of you probably recognize this, Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. And I call this book my gateway drug to personal development. Like I said, I wasn't a very good student. This was the first book that really grabbed me, that had concepts that I could apply not only to my personal life, but also in the business. We started doing classes specifically around this, just for all kinds of team members. It didn't matter if you were in ops, if you were in accounting. Let's just go through this book together and start digesting these principles and applying them to what we do. And that was actually just before 2-second lean. So that kind of kata, that routine was already a part of what we do. And we've continued that. So that's a lot of what this room is going to be dedicated to. But we do 6 a.m. classes all over Huskey. And those start an hour before shift. You get paid for an hour of overtime if you just show up, read the chapter, and contribute. That's been huge to our people development journey and a part of our lean story. And I'm gonna let Jeffrey Shank and Nate Gibson tell you more about it.
Look at this library right here. We got 30 different titles. It was the way that I noticed that Huskey invested in their people. And just look at this investment. Now about 2 days a week, we do leadership classes at 6 a.m. We have an array of employees that come to these meetings.
So I could borrow one of these books if I wanted?
You can have them. They're free. We don't require you to do a book report or stand up in a presentation. All we want you to do is just read it and level up and pass on the principles. So every Friday we cover Paul Akers' book, or if we're not covering the book because we ran through the book, we are actually doing lean Kaizen events, going through the warehouse or any other parts of the building to see where we can make improvements.
So the other piece of our overproduction story that I want to hit is in windows. So when we bought this building in 2018, we wanted to utilize the resource, right? ROI. We thought, hey, we need to hit the gas on sales, and we need to sell some product. We got the room to do it. Let's do it. So we did. And we did that with no processes or procedures to handle it. So what we ended up with was overproduction, was inventory sitting for months and months and months, running out of room for that inventory, total chaos, losing product, breaking product. And I want to bring in Kevin Folds to tell a little bit of that story from his perspective and how lean and standard processes help fix the problem. So Kevin Folds, everyone. Kevin, thanks for taking some time. Kevin is Windows receiving team lead, yes, and he has seen the good and the bad back here.
Yes, sir.
So when you came here, there was no processes, there was no flow. We were batch receiving, we were losing product, we were breaking product. Tell us about it from your perspective.
Overwhelming and chaotic on a daily basis. It was dumpster fire to dumpster fire. And it was very, very challenging. What a overwhelming, chaotic day in Windows receiving looked like was, first, we had no idea when a truck was going to show up and the quantity that would be on the truck. So they would just randomly show up. We had no preparation. We didn't know the purchase orders, so we had to print that out.
You found out when the truck backed up to the dock?
Pretty much, and so because there was no advanced shipping notice. So we knew right away to make that lean, we had to establish relationships with our vendors so that we could get advanced shipping notices. And through that, we were able to start moving away from batch work, and to the goal was one-piece flow.
So Kevin, we actually have a truck right now.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about the way the process used to work and what that chaos looked like.
Well, it was essentially, it was batch work. And so a truck would come in, usually unannounced, and then we would start unloading it, and we would do our best to get the appropriate windows on the appropriate cart, but we had no standard operating procedure. So it was hit or miss. And then after we got everything off of the truck, they would leave, and then we would try to figure out what was what and try to label it and inventory it. So there was over processing, there were defects, there was damage to product. It goes on for the full spectrum.
Lost product.
Lost product, lots of lost product.
Yeah. So now, one piece flow. We started talking about that on Friday mornings at our 6 o'clock lean meetings.
Yes.
We did Kaizen events back here.
Yes.
And said, hey, we've got to be able to do this better. And we started to put together a one-piece flow process. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah. So this all came from one of our Kaizen events, actually. And so what we started doing is first we get our advanced shipping notice, we prepare our labels, we have our paperwork, and then we have our maps to where the carts are, and each cart has the last 3 of the PO. So we know exactly where that window needs to go. We get the window off the truck, we bring it here to our at this station. We stop, we call out the last 3 of the PO and the line number. It's marked off on the paperwork. We're given the corresponding label. We label it, and then we take it to the cart that it's supposed to go on with the labels facing out.
So it gets labeled immediately at that point. One-piece flow straight onto the appropriate
Yes,
cart.
sir.
And where do we document that? We document that in the Huskey playbook.
Yes, sir. And the playbook is everything. It's all of our best practices put into standard operating procedure that we do not deviate from. If anything, we try to make them better.
So we had to get away from tribal knowledge at Huskey. So
yes.
The Huskey playbook is where we put all of our SOPs. It's accessible in OneNote. We print it off in hard copy, just so everybody knows what the standard is and how to hold that standard. That's awesome, Kevin. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hey guys, Nate Gibson. I'm with Jeffrey Shink. He's going to talk to us about a Warrior board we have.
So guys, we get lots of questions about our Warrior program, certification program. I should probably confess that I spent 10 years in the submarine service in the Navy, and it's the genesis of this idea. In submarines, you get certified on submarines if you want to stay. Well, we don't have the fate of the free world at hand here, but we do want our folks competent and trained on the things they work on day to day. And so many years ago, we started with one certification for people who operated forklifts in the yard at our 424 Lewisburg Pike location. A load warrior is somebody who's certified in yard operations. They know how to do all the work that somebody that works in a lumber yard would do. Well, how does this certification work? First of all, it's as much about human interaction as it is about technical knowledge. You have a card that you have to go to people who are already certified and demonstrate that you understand well how to do the job and get them to sign you off. So it engages you with the rest of the team and gets you to knowing the rest of the team on your educational journey. When you finally got all of the stuff signed off, you sit before a review board, and we just make sure that you do in fact understand the preponderance of the stuff we asked you to learn. And if you do, well, then we give you a Warrior certification pin. That simple load Warrior certification has grown to 14 certifications at 4 geographic sites at Huskey over the years. But these are our Warrior certifications that people earn. We have a small handful of people that have, 2 or 3 of these certifications. We say they're cross-certified, and that helps them run to the sound of gunfire and help other teams when we have a need.
So Jeff, do these pins help build a team and team comportment?
Oh, buddy. Napoleon is famous for saying, I can make men die for little bits of ribbon. He wasn't saying they're stupid enough that they'd give up their life for a $3 ribbon. He was saying the smallest bit of recognition will motivate a man beyond what you can imagine. People at Huskey actually work very hard for these pins. They love to wear them in their hats. Yeah, it's a deal here at Huskey, and it's a cultural deal, Nate.
Cool, thanks.
Well, that's a wrap, everyone. Thank you for spending some time today. Thank you, Paul and Richard, for the opportunity to give this tour. Hopefully, you guys have gotten value out of it. Again, if I can encourage you in anything, please consistently apply the concepts that you see working for these other lean maniacs around the world that have done this tour, and focus on developing your people. You will be astonished where the journey takes you. Thank you.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible, Austin. Love
Yeah, Austin,
love the warrior.
incredible.
It was incredible. I love that last statement. The smallest piece of recognition will motivate people to the highest level. Unbelievable.
Beautiful.
Absolutely
So
unbelievable.
what advice, what is the most important thing you learned on this journey if you were telling someone who's starting now?
Consistency is key. I think early on in our journey, I said we stumbled around for 3 years, and I really mean that. I mean, basically no measurable progress for 3 years.
Right.
And what it was is fits and starts, right? I didn't stay consistent with morning meetings. I didn't stay consistent on making sure improvements were happening and being posted to our Signal thread every day. And once we kind of pushed through that and made it just a part of our culture that this is what we do, it took on a life of its own.
How did you push through it? What was the one thing that started to support the consistency?
So I think, John Maxwell says everything rises and falls on leadership. I wasn't holding the standard myself, and I went to Japan with you, and the contrast was just so extreme that it just kicked me into gear. I'm competitive enough that I was just like, my goodness, let's come back and do this thing. Honestly, Japan was the catalyst.
So let me get this straight. So you were challenged because you saw a different model that said, "Hey, you're underperforming."
I did. Yep.
So it is essential. It sounds like that people get out, and the 2-second community is massive, and so you should find somebody that you should go compare yourself with or benchmark, as Richard would say. Correct?
For sure. Yeah, there's, now that I've been in the community, there's guys all over the country, and we've toured a number of them. And take your team with you and do those things together, so that you can all be on the journey together. And you kind of, we had fire starter groups, and Jeffrey talked about the Warrior Pen started in one location, right? And really a lot of this, the traction that we've gotten at the mill workshop where the tour was started in that production team.
Sorry. Yeah, no.
Somebody's got their mic on. Hey, somebody's got their mic on. Richard will get him. But so tell me about Will at the Cheesecake Company, because you told me he's doing amazing. You took your team there.
He's killer. Yeah, he's killer. I think we've probably had guys at his place like every week for the past 4 weeks.
Really?
Yeah, he's crushing it. He's only like 18 months into his journey. And then, I mean, he is like absolutely killing it. Yeah, Will Wilson.
And totally different industry than you, and it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Does not matter.
Yeah, I've talked to Will. He's incredible. He's on my target for next year.
Okay, so, good.
Yeah, for sure. He absolutely should be.
And we'll learn how to make cheesecakes as well.
Totally, and they're delicious.
Fantastic.
Very cool.
Okay,
Richard,
so
question.
I got a question from Jared. Okay, can you please tell us more about the small team breakouts? What do they cover in the 5 to 10 minutes that they have?
So the first thing is defects from the day prior. Just to make sure that we're always, treat your mistakes like gold. So make sure we're always on top of that. And then the other main thing is just improvement ideas, dragging that out of the team, and making sure that we're assigning owners to those so we get those across the finish line. We don't just talk about them. It's kind of those specific. We could cover those in the morning meeting, but there's so many people.
Right.
We just decided them all down. That was more effective to cover team specific. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. So defects and improvements. Yep. Defects and improvements. Very simple.
Yep.
Right on. I love it.
Very simple. So we haven't got any more questions, but I've got one for you, Austin. You've probably said this before, but just to reiterate, if you got some advice to a company that is thinking about starting this transformation, what would your advice be to them?
So it's like I said on the tour, focus on developing your people. It's less about KPIs and metrics. And I think you have to be somebody that actually cares about people, right? Loving people is part of our vision statement. If you don't, it comes through, right? People know. People know if you're just chasing a number. And so that's a heart check for yourself first. But if you've got that in your heart, and then you just go focus on developing your people. I mean, we have so much fun in those classes getting to learn. It's everybody from upper management down to somebody who started the day prior. And you get to learn about each other and what makes them tick and where the right seat on the bus might be for those individuals. We learn so much in that time. But it starts from, do you actually care about people?
Awesome.
Incredible.
Amazing.
Okay, before we get on to one more thing, organization charts. When you said that word upper management, turn it upside down because you're at the bottom supporting everybody else. Okay.
Yep. Beautiful.
I remember Oliver in England. We talked to him for a while, didn't we, Paul? And he changed all of his organization charts over the weekend. And the next dry run we did, he was at the bottom supporting everybody else.
Remember, I just told you about this new company in Dubai that does doors and windows similar to what you're doing as well. And they are unbelievable. And Bud showed me his organizational chart, the same thing, completely inverted. All his installers are at the top. They're the most important people. And I'm like, wow, so brilliant. Complete thinking, change of thinking.
Love it. Love it.
Okay, so Neil asked a question earlier on, and I thought I'd answered him, but he's asking the question about your Signal chat group. Okay, he said, how did you set it up and how does everyone in your company access it? So just share a little bit about how you originally set your Signal chat group up.
So I got a handful. I started the chat. I got a handful of those fire starters, that some of them you met, to start getting their teams on. And then we just put QR codes across the company. I hate the word mandatory. And so we don't mandate that everybody's on there, right? But we encourage it. Thanks to Jack, I do the weekly recaps now, and those go out in a few different mediums for people who aren't on, and that's grown the Signal chat. But yeah, it's just word of mouth and QR codes around the building that you can scan with your phone and jump on.
Excellent. Okay. And I got a question from Brian. What are the biggest projects coming up in the future that you want to get implemented?
The biggest projects. We talked a lot about material handling. So if you saw the window process, it's very manual, and the delivery process from the box trucks is very manual. We're constantly doing experiments with how we eliminate more of the struggle there. And make safety improvements as well. Same thing goes for our component plant and the way that we're handling that finished product. There's a lot of just material handling and motion and transportation that really seems to be top of mind across the team.
Yeah, so about flow, right? And I even noticed in your shipping department, there was a little sign that says, please plug this in if you're not mobile, right? This was your computer trolley. So he obviously moves his computer to where he needs to do all the work.
Absolutely.
Which is absolutely perfect. Austin, absolutely great. We don't have any more questions. I want to get Paul back to bed because he's got a study mission in a few hours' time. I just want to thank you so much. Thank you so much for doing this. It's been incredible. I'm just going to launch a quick poll, okay? And we'll see how everybody does. We've got 3 questions, very simple questions. Out of 10, how would you rate today's session? 9 to 10, excellent. 6 to 8, good. And greater than 6, less than 6 needs improvement. Number 2, have you been inspired to implement or continue with 2-second lean? Yes or no? And the final one, did you find today's talk valuable? So we try and keep lean simple, don't we, Paul? And in the immortal words of yourself and Ryan, lean, main, simple, and you guys are epitome of that. It's really, really good. Okay, so I've got lots of people answered. I'm going to just end the poll, share the results. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. As always, we knock it out of the park, and it's just fantastic. So
excellent.
We're going to just now do a quick feedback. We've done the feedback and we'll carry on. I just want to thank you so much, Austin, and your team. You've done a really phenomenal job today, and we're going to share this obviously on the AME YouTube channel. Our next event, our next tour event is actually in January 2025. We're going to visit D3 Custom Cabinets in Canada, but our actual next 2-second lean event is 1 week from today. We are going to have another 2-second lean leaders roundtable. That will be at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 20th of November. So 1 week today, and I'll let everybody know about that going forward. Our conference in Atlanta in October was a great success. We had over 1,100 lean practitioners. Wow. If you attended that, you've got so many takeaways. Unbelievable. Look towards next year because we're going to be in another great city in the US, and we look forward to seeing you all there again. AME has a lean sensei. I talk about this every single tour. You should really look at this. It's fantastic. It has a 2-second lean as part of the resources. So it's really in line with transforming your company. Tells you where your gaps are. Fantastic way to improve. And we are a not-for-profit organization. So if you do like to donate for us, it would be absolutely great. ame.org/return stronger. And finally,
brought to you by AME and paulakers.net, where you can find all my books and resources on my website, paulakers.net, for free. You can even get my new app, 2-Second Lean Play, where I have all my books available in 9 languages in the audio format, designed for you to listen while you work and play at paulakers.net or Lean Play.
Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Great
Thank
job,
you so
Austin
much.
and the
It's
team.
an honor.
Thanks
Honor.
for being courageous enough to take on this challenge. That was a complex company and just overwhelming what you took on and are still continuing to take on. It's inspiring. Great job.
It's an honor.
It's incredible. Yeah. Austin, yes, honor Jesus and you grow your people.
Amazing.
That's fantastic. Amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And thank you, everyone who attended from around the world. Phil, you always get up early for us. Paul got up really early today. And he's going back to bed now. And knock him out the park tomorrow, Paul. I'm sure your team you got with you, they love every minute of those deep dives that you do. The study missions. Okay, hopefully we'll see you all next week at the Leaders Roundtable. Thank you, everyone. And Austin, a big thank you to your team. You've done a great job. Paul,
thank you so much.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
Okay.
See you soon.
Richard. Awesome. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.